as much light as I can get. Unless I do this. There we are. It's funny how much changing the direction of a chair can do. Right. As the title of the stream suggests, this concerns my thoughts regarding documenting stuff on film as I've been doing. I'm going to get to this point. I'm going to get straight to the point. It preserves, it preserves your life, a moment, an era, a person, really. The minute you show yourself or film yourself on a camera or take a picture of yourself, you're basically, essentially, in a way, making yourself immortal. Depending on how long that bit of media lasts, For me, I'm filming a lot of what I see because there's a lot of stuff, if you look at my earlier videos, that's changed a great deal since I last filmed them. So in a way, when I film stuff, I do it to preserve what I'm seeing right then in the moment. Because, you never know. If I go back, say, 10, 20 years later, what I filmed back then will probably either no longer be there or will have changed so much that that I wouldn't recognize it, But the thing about film is simply this. It preserves, a moment, an era, someone's life, their beliefs, their values, what they love to do, their interests, their hobbies. It preserves all that. In a way, it's like a time capsule, really. Something, that you and, other people or anyone it really can look back on later. Hell, I'll probably look back on this 20 or 30 years from now and be like, what was I doing then, But really, it's rather interesting when you think about it. The reason I'm saying this is because, you take a look at some of the photos taken during, the Civil War, for instance, and then look at a lot of the locations as far as the cities go. Those photos from almost 200 years ago look nothing like the locations don't look anything like they did when those pictures are taken now. They've changed that much, I mean, look at photos of World War One. There's some areas that are practically unrecognizable now, I mean, there's there's areas around here, things and whatnot that have changed since I started doing YouTube. Like some of the earliest stuff I filmed from like 2014 and 15, some of the roadways now are no longer 2-lane, they're now 4 lanes. When I filmed a coal train going through Comer back in 2015, the road going in there was still 2-lane, and it still just went straight into Comer. They've now built a bypass. There's now a new bypass that bypasses Comer. That wasn't there 5 years ago. The drive into Cass this last trip, that whole road, that whole interstate, whatever you call it, at the time my grandmother got her Kia, that road didn't exist. Why? Because if you look on the GPS in the video, you'll see the thing that shows that represents the car and no roadway. Nothing to signify there's a road even on the GPS. So, yeah. That's why I love film. It preserves something at that moment better than really any photograph could preserve, really, because you may have a photo of, say, a war veteran, but you can't tell their story. The only way that can be told is if it was written down. With film, especially sound film, you're able to get, stories from people right then, in their own words. And a good example is like the film Jesse's doing. You know, he's preserving these survivors' memory, really, because a lot of them have since passed away, you know, since the sinking. So, in a way, his film is preserving them and their memories. So, that's a good example. But, you know, a lot of what I've done, I'm doing to preserve what I remember, what I've been able to see. Because I guarantee you, 30, 40 years from now, I'm pretty sure everything that I've probably shown in every video I've ever filmed will either have changed to the point of being unrecognizable or will simply no longer exist. That's one reason I want to film all this, is because it'll be something I can go and look back on. It's something those I know can look back on. It's something everybody can look back on and say, you know, I remember when everything used to look like that. I remember what I was doing then. I mean, I've already said why I've been doing these videos for years now. It's mainly so, you know, I can, in a way, preserve a part of my life, really, and some of the people in it. There's VHS tapes of me when I was real little that I've yet to transfer to a digital platform that have a lot of family members who have since gone, you know, their separate ways or have since passed. And right now, some of those tapes are almost either 20 years old or getting very close to that age. And I want to transfer them, but I'm worried about them being destroyed during the process, or it just simply being too expensive to pull off, you know? But at the same time, I don't want to lose what's on those tapes. I can't do that type of transferring myself. I don't have the equipment for it. But I don't know if I could trust someone else to do the job and do it right without trying to mess something up or destroy the tapes. So that's another bit of media that I want to try and save, because there's stuff going from, I think, 2001 to about, I think, 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. I don't know, but, you know, there's that much stuff that I'd like to try and get saved. But, you know, I think the one thing that I may look back fondly on is everything I've filmed on these trips I've been on, going on with, you know, my grandparents and whatnot. Because they're not I'm going to be honest, they're not getting any younger. And, you know, after they're gone, a lot of what I filmed that's on this channel of mine will probably be the only thing I have to look back on them with, you know? That and what I remember, as far as stuff I never filmed. But, yeah. I mean, as far as film goes, I mean, take a look at a lot of the old television shows and films, you know, from 30, 40 years ago, and take note of how many members of the cast are no longer around, you know? I mean, take a note of MASH and take a look and just take a minute to realize just how many of the actors in that have passed away. I mean, take a look at Gone with the Wind. Practically everybody from that film is now dead. But at the same time, the work they did has preserved them in a way. It's preserved them, their life, in a way, their memory. And that's what I love about film. It preserves somebody's life and their memory to where there's a legacy, to where they're essentially immortal. Because, you know, you don't know if you're going to wake up the next day. I mean, you know, you could be here one day and gone the next. It can happen that quick. And for me, I feel that film is a way to preserve you, you know, it's a way to preserve the person. And, you know, and for me, I feel it's a way to preserve me as I am right now. Because there's no telling if I'll still be the same later. But other than that, that's practically all I really have to say about it. You know, because that's really all it is. I consider film a good way of preserving some, you know, I feel that film is a good way to preserve a memory. Because it preserves a moment an era, a life, and a person better than really any other, better than any photo or letter could ever do. And for me, it's probably going to be something I look back on a lot later in life. But, this is just all my opinions on it. This is just my opinions on the matter. Because with me, I document everything because I know eventually what I filmed will no longer be there. I mean, a good example, a very good example, the Trail Creek Trestle up in Athens. I've seen it for years. I've grown up seeing it for years. And now this year they've started tearing it down. In fact, I think they may have finished tearing down the old structure. And if you noticed on my channel, I've made frequent visits to trying to document the thing and photograph the thing in its last few months. I don't know if I'm going to go back and document it again, because I don't know if anything is even still standing. Because really, let's be honest, what would be the point of going to film a bridge which only has its pilings left, like the concrete footings? No, I may go back. I may go back to document after the bridge is gone, because then, it'll show just a good example of how much something can change, and really how much how quickly something can be, how quickly something like that can become unrecognizable. Because the only reason that bridge was even saved was because of the fact it was immortalized in R.E.M's album Murmur. It was the back photo cover. That was the only thing that saved the bridge, was because of the fact it had gained an icon status due to that photo. And I may go back over there to document the bridge, or I should say what's left of it, as far as like the concrete footings, to give a good example of just how quickly something like that can become unrecognizable, or simply, I guess you could say, vanish. I was going to try and see the bridge shortly after we got back from Edisto, but we simply no longer had enough time. And plus, I forgot to charge my camera battery, so go figure. But hopefully, gone or not, I'll be able to go back and do at least one last video there. I don't know if I'll go back afterwards, but the only time I ever would probably be whenever the new bridge is finished. But from what I've been reading, they're not going to bother even starting the construction of the new bridge until, I think, next year or the year after next year. I don't know, but that'll be a good idea, a way to show how much a location can change, after so long. That'll probably be an interesting, I guess you could say, experiment. I don't know. But that's for then, and this is currently for now. So I believe I will end this now. So I'll I'll see y'all later. Railroad Preserver 2000 signing out.